So if you think about nature and how, in some places of the world, the ground is hard 6 months out of the year because it's winter. We recently came out of an ice age 18,000 years ago, and the Neolithic Revolution and the ground getting, parts of the world getting warmer and us being able to grow and harvest certain crops are why humans were able to expand. The increased and steady caloric intake from farming is something that was never seen before, and it allowed us to supplement our animal food, primarily animal food intake, with grains. And we, still got enough nutrition to live and survive, even though our stature might have gotten shorter. But now we could have 2 to 3 times to 4 times as many people because we were able to work together and form these societies where, that people were perfectly healthy, and hey, maybe they got 50% of their calories from animal foods and maybe the other 50% from grain. But the one key factor here is throughout the Neolithic Revolution, most societies had a couple sources of animals they were eating food from, whether it was fish, chicken, beef, pork, wild game animals, any source of wild animal foods. They probably got the majority of their calories from. That plant part, though, was usually just one grain. Like the Gaelics had oats, some Swiss had rye bread, Italians, some had wheat bread, einkorn wheat. Different groups of people generally focused on that were farming. They had one grain they were farming and supplementing a large portion of their calories with. So that's what led, I guess, certain people to adapt and be able to digest certain things, where like Italians can digest wheat a lot better than, someone from somewhere else. Now this is important in the context of vegan diet being unnatural, because what I just described is already unnatural. Do you realize how hard it is to go into a rice field or a field of wheat and harvest those wheat berries or the rice grains and separate them and wash them and make sure they're ready to be processed into food? And not only that, how difficult is it to make wheat bread with old world tools and grind the wheat berries or make rice with old world tools? It's difficult to make wheat from scratch now. It's crazy that these foods are so difficult to make and so difficult to harvest and so difficult to obtain in nature that what we're doing now is so crazy. We're shipping in foods from all over the world. We're spraying them with pesticides and various things to prevent animals from eating them before we do, because let me tell you, if you've ever grown vegetables in your backyard, there are a dozen animals that will get to it and eat it before you do. Not only that, but 1 week I could eat blueberries from Canada, the next week from Oregon, and God knows what they were sprayed with, how high quality the soil is. It's just, you literally, to follow a vegan diet today, you're probably eating vegetables from dozens of different countries, and you're making supplement, and you have to take supplements that are completely unnatural and it's so out of touch with nature and reality. And you have to understand a little bit of anthropological history, the history of food, how farming is now, where our food comes from. You have to understand a little bit of all those things to understand how crazy a vegan diet is. And I think this is an angle that a lot of people don't really attack a vegan diet with. Purely practical standpoint, the only thing that has made a vegan diet possible in the past 50 years, even before, I don't even think you could have followed a vegan diet and survived 100 years ago. It's modern forms of shipping and preserving food, in addition to modern forms of supplementing, and just the sheer access to the amount of food people have. And even with all of this, people are still suffering health on a vegan diet. So it's pretty crazy to think that, it's like years and years ago. If you imagine trying to follow a vegan diet 200 years ago, you've probably eaten only wheat bread for about 2 weeks and then felt like you're gonna die and then given up. Now, with all the things people have access to, and how food variety and just accessibility is the key word in this video. Accessibility, how we have crazy amounts of access to all these different foods, is the only reason a vegan diet's possible. It really is a first world luxury. There are a lot of vegan diets around the world. Not vegan, but primarily vegetarian diets throughout the world. We see a lot in India, we see this in most poor third world countries, and although these people follow these diets, you know, there are plenty of nutritional deficiencies. They're known for these nutritional deficiencies, and their health is also in. It's not by choice. It's out of necessity. You know, they eat as much animal foods as they can. I know dairy products and eggs are very popular in India, but you know, the reason these cultures that are primarily vegetarian don't eat meat is either for religious reasons or just because they can't. It's not because they don't want to. You know, in places like China, meat is prized for its health and its sign of wealth. You know, it's. I think the United States has it. I mean, it's pretty obvious, but we have it pretty much backwards. I think I've covered. You know, this topic was really simple. I didn't have to talk as much about it as I did. Main point to get across was just the crazy amount of access we have to food, and how it would literally be impossible even if you had access to all those that machinery and all those seeds and everything to grow it and harvest it yourself and sustain yourself. And you know, what are you going to make a laboratory and make your own algae supplement? Like, come on. I think this will give some people shine a little bit of light into their diet, and hey, let me know what you guys think.